It's coming. I'm live right now. Please join by clicking the link in the comment. Join Twitch. We're gonna watch it as soon as this video is uploaded. I'll be streaming, and within this stream, which will probably last like an extra 6 hours or so, I'll be watching Lord of the Mysteries. Come and join. We got some anti-news content though. Lord of the Mysteries cut content. What are Beyonders? Sequence potions, Nighthawks, and more. Let's get it.
The lore behind Lord of Mysteries is both fascinating and overwhelming.
Okay.
Whether it be Beyonders, the paths, the secret organizations, or the world it all takes place in, all of it is so meticulously crafted and richly layered that it pulls you deeper with every revelation.
I still think that also, I wonder how much this, spaceman imagery matters, considering Klein's gray fog zoom call power seems to also be associated with constellation stars and stuff like that. But I honestly don't think this anime is that confusing. And it's not supposed to be, because the first 3 episodes again gave us the most bare bone glossing over the most important stuff, right? Bro gets transmigrated into jolly old England. He, is in this world where mysticism and supernatural shit exist. He, chooses a group, some sort of church, right? And within a church, you have different pathways, right? And in the intro of every episode, they explain these pathways, are these powers that you can basically scale off of to reach divinity, godhood, right? Sequence 9 to 1. And there's the diary, the Antigonus diary, right? And basically, we're trying to figure out, why did Klein shoot himself in the head? And trying to figure out, how the diary is related to it is basically episodes 1, 2, 3. Ain't this the most simple shit? And people make it seem like this is the most confusing shit ever. I think people are playing into it. I think that people have heard that this show is insane, and I'm sure it is later on, right? It doesn't have the time right now or the build up to actually, pop off of all the foreshadowing and the world building and the setup. But the intro stuff, I think people are definitely taking it way too far and exaggerating how complex it actually is when it's pretty simple.
None of it is spoon-fed to you either, so you're kind of piecing it all together just like how Klein is. It's episode...
I think it's pretty spoon-fed though. Episodes 1 to 3, Donghua Oni, they straight up spoon-feed you all this information. I don't know, and I'm not trying to act like, oh, I'm this brilliant, smart guy that's better than you. No, I think that I'm pretty average. And if you're paying attention, this shit is literally just giving you word for word what's going on.
2 that plunges us into that world of mystery, and we don't really get a chance to absorb all the information they're giving.
This feather is sus though.
Combine this with the fact a lot of that information is condensed for brevity's sake, and I can see why so many people come out confused.
Nah, I would say that because it's been condensed for brevity's sake due to the event-based structuring of episodes 1, 2, 3, it's even simpler. The fact that they skip over so much of these fine nitty-gritty details and just give you an overview of the most important stuff, that's basically a summary, a ChatGPT summary of the most important topics, and I think it's so fucking easy to follow.
I'm sure over time, repetition will make lots of these concepts more clear, but the parts of the web novel this episode should have covered has so much more to it. So, if you're curious to see what you missed and learn more about the world Lord of Mysteries has to offer, stick around since this will cover all of that.
He calls it Lord of
Let's
Mysteries,
get
huh?
started.
Not Lord of... Oh, before we... Okay, this is usually the part where he does the ad read. Before we get started. What's the other segue? Before we start... there's the other segue I forgot.
Episode, we ended things right after Klein finished his first attempt in the Grey Fog, so...
But first, that's what he says. Before we get started, but first, that's what he said. Anyways.
Let's pick things up immediately after. Setting aside the whole chapter dedicated to Alger and Audrey, there was a blink and you miss it moment giving context to what just happened with Klein.
He accidentally touched
these
the
4
red
dots
thing.
were clearly a result of the ritual.
I think that's supposed to represent the bread, right? That he placed on the ground when first doing the ritual, and when he woke up, we had that. And I don't think we see him ever setting up that ritualistic, hardware, be it. And I think that's why he was also able to use the Grey Fog powers against the clown guy, right?
They seemed to correspond with the 4-corner setup allowing it to
the
happen,
bread.
so Klein figured it meant he no longer needed to gather food in order to do the ritual.
It's also hilarious considering that bread allows you to do this? What? I'm assuming that the object doesn't really matter what it is.
As amazing as that was if true, what was terrifying was the idea that Chinese divinations from Earth could produce real and lasting effects here.
That's the really important part. Why does that work here? Is it because of the mysterious street vendor that gave us the luck enhancement ritual, is he also like, some sort of beyonder that's crossed realms into, modern day China? Or is it the fact that in this world of Lord of the Mysteries, everything is based on acting, this belief, this immersion. The more that other people understand, the assumptions they may have, it may manifest into reality. So it doesn't matter if it's from here or not. Just the mere belief and the faith that you have in something, and the more that you are just into it, the more it just becomes reality. But if that's the case, then why is it a random ass meeting room, right? What about this luck enhancement ritual? Because like, sure, we've now assumed that the mechanics in this world is such that faith, belief, the acting all plays into it. But why is it a meeting room of the throne? Who even, counted for like the details of this throne that Klein sits in? Like, what is that about?
It was yet another of the strange and unnatural things Klein would be exposed to. Enough that he was starting to see why the fear of the unknown was even a thing to begin with.
Okay.
Now, 3 hours had passed since he first entered the fog, so before he would contemplate what exactly just happened, Klein decided it was best to eat first.
Hard-ass bread.
He would prepare a meal out of some bread and potatoes, knowing full well he can't just eat meat whenever he wants anymore.
It's carb on carb.
It was a clear downside to being in this new world of his.
Imagine being from the great foodie nation where food is just abundant and you have so many good foods, and now you're here where you're just eating hard-ass bread. No meat, no protein, that's a luxury.
A full stomach would allow him to think things over clearly though, so it was after eating that he would come to the conclusion becoming a Beyonder was a priority. After Alger and Audrey had expressed such interest in it, to Klein this seemed like the best way to overcome the unknown at the moment.
Yeah, to get back home.
Of course, he had no idea how exactly to become a Beyonder, but if he waited long enough, eventually the formula for the Spectator Potion would become known to him. Alger was eventually gonna tell Audrey it, so it was after that that he could just create it himself.
Okay.
Klein's next priority was to...
And then Audrey, I don't know, I think Alger like gave her like the potion stuff and like details of like what you need to do. I don't think we've seen anything of Audrey ever since then. Maybe we'll see it in the most recent episode though.
Figure out what happened to the original Klein, so that included why he killed himself and what happened in the events leading up to it.
Yeah, this is important.
This also included trying to recover as many memory fragments as possible, so any clues helping in that were important too. Luckily for Klein, his original self liked to take notes. He had stacks of diaries detailing specific days and what he had learned during them.
How
There were
convenient.
topics of history like the primordial times and the inevitability of the Age of Steam, then the more recent entries regarding the discovery of a notebook from the 4th Epoch.
Okay.
A period of time
Is it Epoch or Epoch? I think that Epoch was how Google AI was saying it, right?
from over 1,000 years ago. So, this was a very old notebook, and the research within was a goldmine for any history student. Reason being that the history of the 4th Epoch was incredibly mysterious and inherently incomplete.
Okay.
Any tombs, cities, and records were always far and few between, and for any of the records that did exist, they were typically provided by one of the 7 major churches.
That's kind of sus though, right? Like details of the 4th Epoch is very like ambiguous, and then ever since then the rise of these powerful entities existed. Because at the end of the day, history is written by the victors. What if people are just mass gaslighting? Like something crazy fucking happened and all the powerful cabals of this world is hiding all the information and rewriting history so that the masses just kind of just go with whatever they're told.
So, who knows how accurate any of that is, but what's seemingly common knowledge are 3 nations that supposedly existed in the 4th Epoch.
Okay.
There was the Solomon Empire, the Tudor Dynasty, and the Trunsuist Empire,
Oh.
all of which were powers from a time also referred to as the Age of the Gods.
Age of God.
The
Whoa.
epochs before were much more like legends, so for a history major like Klein, the 4th was definitely the most interesting.
Okay.
Klein's diaries then proceed to detail his progress through the notebook, a lot of which gives context to everything Klein read when he first awoke. There was the discovery of the text being a modified version of ancient Fasak, the author being a member of the Antigonus family,
Antigonus!
the family's high standing within the Solomon Empire, a secret transaction with a person named Tudor, then the author's mission to visit the nation of the Evernight.
This is kind of crazy though. These details definitely make it a lot more complex. I had the notebook. Comparing the sentences, discovered that it's the modified form of the ancient Fasak. Precisely, over the course of 1,000 years history, Fasak language has changed constantly, a little at a time. We deciphered the contents of the first page. author was a member of the family called the Antigonists. So they're like a very like ancient, important family that the diary is also important for. Dark Emperor, the anachronistic with regards to the time this notebook deducts to be written. The Professor of Dark Emperor is a common title for every emperor in the Solomon Empire. I don't know. Maybe is this Emperor Roselle? Antigonus' family apparently had a high standard in the Solomon Empire. Author mentions that he was making a secret transaction with a person named Tudor. Is it related to Tudor dynasty? It's gotta be. There's too many details here to really keep, like, I think that there's too much stuff that's just too much like noise, but the important signals are Tudor, Phasac, Antigonus, Dark Emperor, Solomon, stuff like that, just to kind of be mindful of.
Tudor, then the author's mission to visit the nation of the Evernight.
Then he wanted to visit the nation of the Evernight. That's kind of like where we're at, right? Because I'm assuming our place, right, where we're in, Tingen Lowen, right? It's all Evernight goddess people. At the summit of the highest peak of the Hornacious mountain range. Whoa. From the new deciphered content, the author accepted a mission to visit, situated at the summit of the highest peak. That's where we gotta go, bro. Because, like, everything, like, these voices are telling us, Hornacious, mountain. Oh my goddess. How can a nation exist at the summit, that peak, which is over 6,000? So, hold up. The nation of the Evernight is on the mountaintop. Just because we're in Tingen, in Lowen, whatever kingdom that we're in, and we worship the Evernight goddess, that's not the nation of the Evernight. The shit at Hornacious mountain range, that is the nation of Evernight, okay? And I guess it kind of makes sense of, like, how, because the red moon is so important to everything that exists in this religion, I guess the people thought, like, the higher altitude that we exist in, the more closer to the Evernight goddess we are. You know what I mean? Because, like, the distance is, like, 6,000 meters closer? I don't know.
A domain supposedly located on the highest peak of the Hornacious mountain range.
Okay.
The next entry.
Thank you, Brain Parade, for 10 months. I appreciate it.
Was, are these strange things real? Then finally the iconic line of everyone will die, including me.
Yeah, that's obviously gonna, everyone's gonna die. But like, this is more of, is everyone gonna die together at the same time, right? It's some sort of calamity, some sort of like doomsday happening. That's what's more important.
So there was quite a bit of information Klein had sifted through already. It was before he could piece any of it together, though, that the inspectors would interrupt, seeking answers to the mysterious suicide of his colleagues Naya and Welch.
Nighthawks.
They were the two interpreting the Antigonus notebook alongside Klein.
Yeah, what happened?
When Leonard asked him about that final line in his latest diary, Klein decided the best thing was to just be frank.
Yeah.
Naturally, there were certain things that could be said and those that couldn't, but as a veteran keyboard warrior, Klein was skilled at navigating situations like this.
Veteran keyboard warrior, Reddit Discord mod, bro. Bro has never lost a debate. Bro has never lost a challenge in the YouTube comment section.
So, the whole interrogation would end without Klein being taken in, a different outcome from what we saw in the anime. He did suspect he was being watched though, so in an attempt to make it seem like he was truly in danger, Klein decided to act panicked. The inspectors had showed little interest in his spectacle, allowing Klein to calm down a bit. He would rest easy knowing he wasn't in that much trouble yet. This would then lead to a whole chapter dedicated to his cooking, time he would use to reflect on the past as well as the new simple life he was thrust into.
He must be good, right? Because, he's got like modern culinary skills. Even if it's simple, back in these days, I bet that would go so far.
Melissa would then come home and be shocked by the meal he cooked. Then the two would share a heartwarming moment as brother and sister. The night would then end mostly peaceful and uneventful, but it was once morning came that Inspector Dunn would come knocking again.
Uh-oh.
He had found proof confirming Klein went to Welch's place on the night he died, so now he was back to take Klein in for more questioning. Klein had already revealed everything he knew, but still that wasn't enough to prove his innocence.
Look into my dreams.
This put his transmigration secret at risk, and since the only other person he knew was a transmigrator was assassinated, Klein wasn't too keen on them finding out about it.
And I wonder if that's because people found out that he's a transmigrator, or if it's just because he's an emperor. Isn't it common that emperors, often gets assassinated because of a revolt or like a coup? I don't know if the details have been, laid out straight, but we'll kind of worry about that later.
This led to his attempt at escape, which in the novel was pretty much like how we saw in the anime. The only difference is that there wasn't this whole Inception-like sequence suggesting the encounter was a dream to begin with.
This is pretty cool though.
It was once Klein had awoken from it that he was surprised to see it was only 2 a.m. still. Dunn was still there waiting for him in the hallway, except now he was introducing himself as a Nighthawk.
Nighthawk,
It was
baby!
a name Klein recognized as one of the codenames for the Church of the Evernight Goddesses Beyonder teams. A revelation that made Klein
Just one of it though, right? It's not like we are an ambassador for the Evernight Goddess. We're simply one group that worships them, and we're Beyonders. I'm assuming Evernight Goddess also has many, many different groups that, you know, has their own Beyonders and does their things. It just, we haven't really met them yet.
think Dunn had manipulated his dreams in a way that seemed like complete control over it. What it really was, though, was simply Dunn entering his dream, then providing the guidance he thought was necessary.
Nightmare power.
It was all part of figuring out whether Klein was telling the truth or not. By getting him to recall his memories and his dreams, his suppressed emotions and dark thoughts should have become a lot more amplified. That being the case, whatever stories Klein tells there would be much more believable. Now, that may be how it worked for most others, but for Klein, he found it wasn't like a dream at all. You see, he clearly remembered having rational thoughts, so anything Dunn saw was only what Klein wanted him to see.
Exactly. I think that Dali, when we were getting interrogated, he also made that comment of like, there's like this stuff that obviously exists that we don't want to completely show. So it's kind of consensual, and they're peeking in, but they can only see what Klein wants to actually show them. So the transmigrated stuff, we can be chill about that.
It was in the anime that the spirit medium would analyze Klein's thoughts immediately after this, but in the novel, Dunn would instead have to take Klein to where she is first. This would have them share a carriage ride to Welch's apartment, during which the two would discuss the possible outcomes here. Obviously, escape was impossible, but Dunn didn't fault him for trying. Reason being that if it was him being taken in, then he would have done the same. This is because regardless of whether he remembers committing the crime or not, if proven guilty, Klein's life would be over regardless. That being the case, it was a safer gamble to just try and escape than start a new life in the southern continent.
I love how he, in the beginning, went so honest and just told him everything about, oh, I can't remember shit, bro. Like, I straight up just feel like, I don't know, I woke up and I just can't remember anything. And now he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna fucking run away from here.
If the medium proves Klein truly doesn't remember anything though, then next Dunn would have to make sure Klein isn't cursed, possessed by cacodemons, or carrying any psychological problems.
What?
It was the ideal
Cock
outcome
demons?
should everything go properly.
Okay.
In practice, supernatural events like this rarely ever did though, since for Dunn, his experiences proved otherwise. Like, there was this one case where he had to deal with an evil cult, and
Damn,
it was
that's so
here
cool.
live sacrifices were made via suicide to please an evil god they worshipped.
Damn.
One of the followers defected and reported it, resulting in an investigation that would reveal the god they worshipped was nothing but a randomly thought up entity meant to make the leader rich.
It's just a scam, baby. Y'all got conned. I guess the leader just like, has his worshippers all die, but it's like, wait, you gotta make sure that your wills, at the end of the day, it's all, proceedings goes to, our group and organization. You gotta have that in writing. Hey, it's just good business, huh?
All members minus the whistleblower were then arrested, then after intense evaluations clearing him of the same things that Klein would be tested for, he would be released into the public to start over.
Okay.
He would get a job, happily marry, then have 2 children, but
Aw.
despite living a life as pleasant as could be, this whistleblower still ended up strangling himself to death sometime later.
Huh?
So, the moral of the story is that despite escape from the supernatural seeming likely, there's always the possibility it might just be temporary.
What? He still choked himself? But I thought this shit was a scam. It didn't matter. Why does it sound like some evil god entity, possessed him and made him go crazy and choke himself, man? I don't know. Was he a Beyonder? And Beyonders go crazy if it's not maintained properly. I don't know, but all right. That's kind of sad. He got out and he still ended himself.
Kinda like the way death is in Final Destination.
Okay.
What then was the best way to resolve this? Well, Klein believed it might be to become a Beyonder. Now, it was once they arrived at Welch's apartment that immediately Klein would feel like he was surrounded by something. It was only him and Dunn around, yet for some reason Klein felt like the area was crowded.
Someone's watching
As
us?
it turns out, This feeling of being watched stemmed from the numerous spirits that were apparently spying on him.
Okay.
Spirits which the medium Daly was just in contact with. Normally, Daly wouldn't take any measures to make her psychoanalysis comfortable, but because Klein wasn't an enemy and more so just a witness, fragrances were given to him to mitigate pain and make him more susceptible to the process as a whole.
The smelling makes him more
In
calm.
the anime, the whole thing had happened really quick, but here this entrance into his mind happened slowly. Eventually, Klein would be plunged into a dreamlike state similar to the fog, except this time there wasn't a lingering sense of madness present. No. Instead, there was only a calm voice bewitching Klein into a state that would hopefully reveal what really hid underneath.
Wonder why there is that madness anytime he uses the gray fog stuff. Is that the gray fog stuff I think is separate from the seer pathway, because we used that before we even joined Nighthawk, I'm pretty sure, right? The order of events, I'm pretty sure that's what happened, right? We joined Nighthawk and drank the potion in episode 2. In episode 1, we already had the meeting. The madness. But didn't they say rituals and stuff like that? Mysticism and rituals, like there's potentials for danger and madness to happen. So because of the fact that this is a ritualistic, event, that there is this lingering insanity that makes you, I guess, be more, aware and just kind of not want to just go do crazy rituals.
When nothing was unearthed, Daly simply let Klein go and done was finished. We didn't get that same level of hide and seek as what the anime showed, but I'm glad they added it since the whole sequence was a lot more tense and eventful.
Yeah, this is a pretty cool anime-only, original scene with the visual just kind of displaying exactly what Annie said, and I think this is also where he said, like, oh, as long as I don't want Daly to know this specific thing, even though she's in here, she can't see everything.
It was once Klein had awakened that, despite Dunn saying he was free to go, Klein was still worried whatever evil spurred him into suicide was still after him. Dunn assured him that 80% of survivors in incidents like these typically didn't experience any horrifying after effects, but for Klein, 4/5 still wasn't safe enough.
20% is kind of crazy, bro. Even 1% is a crazy number if you think about it and if you played gacha games before.
That's when Dunn would suggest joining the church as a Beyonder, since should something happen, the Nighthawks or the power they provide would certainly be able to help him.
Let's go!
The only thing it would cost would be his freedom.
Well, yeah. But we got money, we get paid well, we get cool powers, and I'd say that this also, even though you're thinking we're trading our freedom, I would say we're earning our freedom here. This gives us more flexibility in what we can do.
That and the risk of losing control as a Beyonder. This is because out of all the cases the judiciary teams like the Nighthawks take care of, 1/4 of them are usually Beyonder related.
Okay.
Most of those are Beyonders who lose control, and a large number of that are usually their very own teammates.
That's sad.
Such was the danger that came when trying to become a Beyonder.
And that's why Dunn always says that line about, we're wretched beings, we're guardians, but at the end of the day, we're doomed to just, struggle with madness and insanity and shit. And all the people that Dunn had to put down being previous allies, that's actually really sad and depressing.
Why is that the case? Well, that was something Klein would understand only if he joined them. Whether as a civilian staff member.
This girl does not do anything, bro. Roseanne, all she does is yap and do everything but work. Very relatable character.
Or a full-fledged Beyonder himself, joining the Nighthawks would reveal all their secrets and the dangers plaguing their Beyonders. That being the case, the safest thing to do would be to join as a civilian, then decide whether to become a Beyonder after. The main problem with that, though, is that one doesn't simply become a Beyonder just because they choose to do so. With the Nighthawks being a division under the Church of the Evernight Goddess, the church needed to first accept him. Luckily for Klein, not only was he a history graduate, which the church urgently needed, his recent incident indicated he was lucky. It was a quality that often got people accepted into the church.
What? Lucky, huh? I mean, it also goes back to the whole luck enhancement ritual, right? Did that actually make him lucky? I don't know. Is Klein really the luckiest guy around? I mean, shit, the fight against the clown, too. That was kind of crazy. That was kind of lucky, too, huh? This guy just might be a lucky person.
Why, might you ask, does the church need people well-versed in history? Well, as an organization that often encountered documents and objects from the 4th Epoch or earlier, having a history specialist to decipher them was essential.
Yeah, knowledge is power. The history, a master will be able to have the tools and the knowledge necessary in order to further strengthen this organization. That makes sense.
There was, however, a strict confidentiality clause preventing just anyone from becoming a member, mainly due to their lack of trust regarding outsiders. You see, Dunn believed humanity's stupidity was beyond imagination and...
Based Dunn. He's right, bro. And I'm no, I listen. I'm not innocent either. I think just us species, the human race, goddamn collectively, we are beyond retarded.
Klein could only agree with an iconic quote from Roselle. In the end,
there it is, man. This is a quote from Roselle.
And Klein could only agree with an iconic.
The only lessons humans can learn from history is that humans do not gain any lesson from history. That is so correct, man. It is a constant just cycle. You would think that after all these different events and things that's happened in the past, that humanity would be able to just learn from them, become intelligent, and progress as a society. Bro, we got motherfuckers that are basically saying, I don't want my kids to get vaccinated because they just become brain broken during the COVID incident, and now they're like, measles cases are just growing higher and higher, man, bro, where we live in. Do you understand how stupid that is? Like, just, like, we're actually going backwards as a civilization. Straight up. And I know motherfuckers in the comment section be like, yo, you need to do your own fucking research. You just believe what these scientists fucking feed you. It's just, after all that we've done, you know what? Let's just bring back the bubonic plague. Maybe we need to get culled down as a species, man.
Iconic quote from Roselle. In the end, Klein still wasn't sure whether he would join the church, but the idea of becoming a civilian staff member was very much enticing. The pay was similar to that of the lecturer position he was applying for, and it would only go up in accordance with his experience and contributions.
Money!
The only downsides were a minimum 5-year commitment, a lifetime confidentiality agreement, and the inability to leave the city without express permission to do so.
It's fine. We'll just gotta get permission with that. The NDA, I mean, not being able to tell other people is kind of suffocating, but it's also cool that we got like this secret identity, you know, and we're like this mysterious underground organization protecting, you know, the city. It's kind of cool.
There were also no weekends since shift work could be given at any time.
No weekends?
Now, it was before...
We're on call? God, one of the most annoying things about, you know, having my day job in the past was the whole on-call aspect of like, listen, man, 9 to 5 is the work day, but then beyond that, it's just like, sometimes clients gonna need some shit to just get fixed, and it doesn't matter if it's 3 in the morning, you gotta do it.
Klein had come to the decision to become a Beyonder that he would first go back home to contemplate his options. He would spend a great deal of time comparing all the advantages and disadvantages.
Okay.
It was a thorough and comprehensive thought process that covered pretty much everything. What eventually went to sway his decision, though, was an interesting quote that went like this. The inferior recluse hides away in the wild, the superior the crowd.
Whoa.
It's a quote that essentially means it's better for him to hide his identity as a Nighthawk rather than anything else.
Okay.
Doing
cool.
so would also teach him concepts that would
Again, these imageries, right? The visuals here, the constellations. How much does this shit matter with like the spaceman stuff in the beginning too with the gray fogs?
Would also teach him concepts that would certainly help in the gray fog, so if he was to truly take advantage of those he brought into it, upping his general knowledge was definitely the best way to do so.
Yeah, we need to get smarter.
Fast forward past a bit of lore regarding the world's transit system, and Klein would find himself on his way to become a Nighthawk. At the pub, he would witness the grotesque sight of 2 dogs rabidly hunting hundreds of rats, a spectacle built upon a betting sport to see which dog could catch the most.
People were bored back in the day, man. You know, they need some sort of entertainment. They don't got YouTube, you know, they don't got Twitch. They gotta watch something. That's what they doing.
The bartender would then direct him to a different location known as Blackthorn Security Company, the place where we see him meet Roseanne.
Roseanne ain't doing
She's
shit,
been
bro.
part of the Nighthawks for about 5 years now, and her father was a member who'd sacrificed himself around that same time as well.
That's actually really sad. Rest in peace.
She would lead him to a room known as the Chaunis Gate, as that was the area Dunn was currently on watch in.
Chaunis Gate.
His contract would then be signed as quickly as we saw in the anime, then the Blackthorn Security Company was revealed to actually be the 7th unit of the Awa County Police's Special Operations Department.
Jesus Christ. Okay. We're Unit 7 in this specific county. Okay. We're Special Ops. Alright. So like other units have different names?
Units 1 to 4 did basic security and police stuff, while Units 5 and up handled supernatural incidents in whatever city they were stationed in.
Cool.
For the Nighthawks specifically, they handled incidents related to followers of the Evernight goddess, specifically those in their own city of Tingen. Unit 6 were the mandated Punishers of the Lord of Storms, and they handled the area around the Pier region.
The Punishers? What? Lord of the Storms, I think, is what probably Alger is part of, just because of the whole theme of him being like a seaman, right? Anyways, the Punishers is crazy.
Unit 5 was a group known as the Machinery Hive Mind, and they were responsible for the university area and suburbs.
Okay.
Now, the Nighthawks weren't that.
That makes sense, because, you know, the Evernight Goddess, Lord of the Storms, and the Steam and Machine, you know, God whatever, right? Those are the three main beliefs that exist in this kingdom.
Big at all, since the total number of them was only 12. There were 6 formal members who acted as Beyonders, then another 6 who worked as civilian staff, Klein included. This brings us now to quite a bit of lore, since Dunn's conversation here talked about everything from the myth of creation to the Beyonder potion system. If we focus on the myth of creation first, the story shared is surprisingly consistent across all major churches. None devalued the tales of the other gods, so either the creation myth was real, or the churches had a long history of interreligious conflict, ultimately resulting in a strategic shared myth that they could all agree upon.
This is so cool.
Either way, in every scenario, it all began with the creator.
But who is the creator? Who? No. Who created the creator? The creator's mom? Who created the creator's mom, though? You know? Because, like, you can't just start with something when there was nothing to start with.
They had awoken from chaos, shattered the darkness that enveloped everything, then fused into the universe to make all that exists. Every part of their body had become something.
Whoa! The creator's eye, sun and the crimson moon, lungs, elves, heart giants, brain dragons. Dragons are smart, huh? Liver, trance, kidneys, feather serpents, hair, phoenixes, ears, demonic wolves, mouth and teeth, mutants. What the fuck? It's kind of odd. Stomachs, intestines, evil parts. What do you mean evil parts, bro? What about the penis? Is that what they're talking about? Devils, evil spirits, and sea monsters. Spirit created gods. Wisdom created humans. That's also very ironic, considering, you know, we just talked about how, you know, the humanity is just stupid collectively, and we never learn from anything, but we are supposed to be the embodiment of the creator's wisdom.
The most important, however, was his spirit, since that became the other deities like the eternal blazing sun, the Lord of Storms, and the God of Knowledge and Wisdom.
What does that even mean, the spirit, right? It's just a ambiguous, this vague, you know, abstract concept. The creator's spirituality went on to go, you know, establish these mythical, you know, legendary lore that then, you know, gets people worshiping them as like gods and deities. I don't know.
His wisdom had also given birth to humanity, and all that would be part of an era known as the First Epoch. It was a period of time otherwise known historically as the Chaos Epoch. The Second Epoch was a bit unclear, but it's written that this was the era when the Evernight goddess awoke. Together, her and the other gods would work together to help humanity survive the cataclysm.
But like, who the fuck is the Evernight goddess, though? You're telling me it's not a human. It's like this mythical, godlike being that just spawned out of nowhere because the creator said so. And all these different entities also just exist. They just manifested it out of fucking thin air. What about their theme? What about their, like, religious beliefs and stuff? I thought that maybe, like, people's wishes and beliefs of what they want to be true is the reason why these great gods and deities kind of exist. But this shit just sounds like, yep, one day, boom, they just popped out of nowhere. But then it's like, you know how we constantly talk about the pathways, you know? Sequence 9 to 1. The closer you get to 1, the more power and divinity and godlike you become. Are these beings Beyonders that reached sequence 1 and then? But then you gotta think about this, right? If we go with the logic that these are Beyonders that reached that upper echelon sequences, hold up a second. The Church of the fucking Evernight Goddess, by worshipping her, is how you even fucking start with, let's say, the Sleepless pathway, right? The pathway, or the Seer pathway, right? So now it's a chicken and egg situation of what the fuck came first. I don't know.
Together to help humanity survive the cataclysm. It was a new era of strife defining the third epoch.
Okay.
This would be the same time that Mother Earth and the god of combat would appear as well.
God of
Then
combat.
finally the god of craftsmanship would be born in the fourth epoch.
How are they born though? That's what I want to know. How are these entities just created and born? That's the most important part, and obviously we're not supposed to know that. That's some really endgame shit. It'll blow our minds later.
So it's from this that the more ancient gods were the more traditional, making the Evernight goddess not as orthodox as the original three.
Pretty OG.
She, however, was well known by many titles, most of which Klein's mother would recite every evening before dinner.
The Evernight goddess is nobler than the stars and more eternal than eternity. Blacker than black, whiter than white, eternal than eternity. She's also the Lady of Crimson, the Mother of the Secrets, the Empress of Disaster and Horror. Why the hell would you ever want to fucking worship a being that's also heralded as the Empress of Disaster and Horror? Is that something you want to be a part of? Maybe because by force that you're scared because you don't want to get just, you know, fucked up by the goddess. I don't know. Like you would think that like these beings are like things like, I don't know, like happy people, benevolent happy, you know, there's some sort of god that's just like, yeah, you know, cherish your neighbors and peace and love and joy, happy. No, it's just like the Empress of Disaster and Horror. The calamity. It's like the calamity bringer. It's like, what the fuck? Do we really want to get involved with that?
Lady of Crimson symbolized the red moon, tying the Evernight goddess to the eye of the creator from which it came.
And I wonder if the moon was always red. Like, imagine again that these, like, the Evernight goddess, like, doesn't exist. The moon was already red though, but people saw the red moon and monkeys, cavemen were like, oh, oonga boonga, red moon important, let's worship red moon, oonga boonga, praise the lady. And then one day they just put like, and then some Attack on Titan shit like with Ymir happened. You know the lore about Ymir, right? She's just a regular fucking child, regular kid. But then the churches just put her up there and they worshipped it. And then they just thought that, oh, this is our, all hail. Like, is it the same shit here where a bunch of, you know, just zealots wanted this shit to be so real that they, you know, then the birth of the Evernight goddess happened by having this random person be worshipping it because this world, it's all about acting and role playing, immersion and how much belief and faith you had that it just manifested into destiny?
So if the first three gods came from the creator's spirit, it's just as impressive that the Evernight goddess came from its eye.
Okay.
All the other gods had similar explanations too, but for the most
Spirit
recent
versus
upstart
eye.
of the god of craftsmanship, their church was relatively weak until the creation of the steam engine. Now, with humanity being born
Alright.
from the creator's wisdom too, that meant everything stemmed from the same origin. They may not be blessed with magical powers right from the get-go, but over time, humanity figured out how to obtain that power via other means. This would be the power of the Beyonders.
Yeah.
They found that
Hold on, go back.
was right from the get-go, but over time, humanity figured out how to obtain that power via other means.
What power are we talking about right now?
Now, with humanity being born from the creator's wisdom too,
Yep.
that meant everything stemmed from the same origin.
Yep, the creator.
They may not be blessed with magical powers right from the get-go, but
So there are people that are just blessed with powers from the get-go because they're off of the creator. Because the creator's eye, Evernight goddess, the lady, the creator was like, yep, boom, spawn, you're this godlike being with these powers. Okay.
over time, humanity figured out how to obtain that power via other means. This would be the power of the Beyonders.
That's right.
They found that by using the correct parts of evil spirits, dragons, monsters, magical trees, flowers, or crystals, combining them together would create a potion.
Potions, that's right.
Consuming this potion would then provide some sort of special...
Because the potions are made up of the ingredients that are again derived from the creator that we saw in the chart before. By consuming things. And that's actually pretty cool now, right? I was like, oh, we just drink random potions and we get better? Well, yes and no, right? There is like this like lore of, well, all these different ingredients are derived again off of the creator. Therefore, you drink it, you become kind of this like almost divine being.
ability, the power of which depended on how high grade the potion was. Consuming them didn't always mean success though, as there were 3 possible outcomes of failure.
Okay.
First was mental death and the complete breakdown of the body,
Jesus.
a terrible fate in which the person would become a monster.
Yikes, that's so
Second
scary.
was a change in personality that made the person cold, cruel, and indifferent, then the third was a mental disorder turning the person crazy instantly.
The fuck? All 3 outcomes are just bad. I guess the second is the better one, because at least you're just kind of cold compared to just turning into a mutant blob or just going absolutely batshit insane.
That was what Dunn meant by losing control. Apparently, people in this category became more devilish than the devil. It was the Beyonders before who figured this out through rigorous experimentation, eventually perfecting the potion system with the help of the Blasphemy Slate.
Oh,
What is the
Emperor
Blasphemy
Roselle
Slate?
stuff.
Well, that was the most critical factor in determining a potion's system formation and completion.
Okay.
So it was with that they were able to form a tiered system of chain
I think the Emperor Roselle, wasn't the Blasphemy Slate like derived off of him?
completion. So it was critical help of the Blasphemy Slate. What is the Blasphemy Slate? Well, that was the most critical factor in determining a potion's system formation and completion.
Okay, just
So
makes it
it was
better.
with that they were able to form a tiered system of chains into stable progression paths, a concept you might be more familiar with.
When I say it's derived off of him, it's basically meaning that he's associated with it. No, he saw it. What are you arguing against? I'm saying that the anime has mentioned the Blasphemy Slate along with Roselle.
System of chains into stable progression paths, a concept you might be more familiar with as sequences.
Okay.
Each sequence is numbered from 1 to 9, and the lower the number, the higher the grade of potion.
Again, I just don't believe that it ends from like 9 to 1. There's gotta be numbers beyond or below, right? How many times have you seen fucking, shows with these power systems and you just believe what you're just being given? It's just like, oh, so actually, there's something that goes beyond it.
Currently, each of the 7 major churches held control of at least one complete sequence, while others have remained incomplete for centuries to millennia.
Okay.
For a bit more context on the Blasphemy Slate,
The missing sequences, pathways, I think are more interesting to me, right? The sleepless stuff, I don't know, it's already established, it's known, but like specifically with Klein too, right? The whole like seer pathway, and we're just like, well, it just doesn't exist here, and who knows where it is. And now we met a guy who's giving us more context about it, and it's just like, I don't know, it's there's like a mystery aspect to it that makes it seem more rare and unique.
all that's known about it is that it was created by some evil gods. No
What?
one knows how it was made, what it contributed millennia. For a bit more context on the Blasphemy Slate, all that's known about it is that it was created by some evil gods.
Thank you, evil gods, for creating this thing that makes it easier for us to just smoothly transition as a Beyonder. Sounds like a good god to me.
No one knows how it was made, what it contains, or what's so special about it, but should anyone discover any information pertaining to it, it was of the utmost importance to report it immediately.
Okay.
Dunn's next point highlights
One of the most important things, man. Just this Blasphemy Slate and the mystery surrounding it, and maybe Klein will figure it out, man. But don't report it though. Keep that knowledge to yourself.
the further dangers of losing control, something that's often attributed to a human's innate spiritual perception. You see, it's not uncommon for someone to be born with the partial characteristics of a Beyonder. This
What?
means they can hear things others can't hear or see things others can't see, placing them onto a sequence they might not even know about.
Is this the Great Fox shit? Wait. And then I think Annie just mentioned it before too, right? About, humans are derived off of the creator's wisdom and then had to, settle for these, potions to actually gain those mythical power. But some other people in the past, they just kind of spawn in with that shit. So right here, some people are born with that kind of trait. So if we think back to like original Climb before, Joe Mingri, showed up here, I don't know. It just feels like logically it makes sense that there's some stuff before that we don't even know about that might be adding to his powers.
Should they then consume a potion that differs from the sequence they're already on, the effects of doing so could range from mental disorder to loss of control to even death. A Beyonder can't stray from one path if they've already chosen another.
I just think it would be so cool though, again. Like some One Piece Blackbeard shit, where Klein is basically 2 separate paths in one. Because like, again, I don't know, bro. It's just schizomental gymnastics at this point, but before Klein transmigrated, What if he already was a Beyonder of a different path and we just don't know? And when he shot himself in the head and another soul basically took over him, that basically reset this, you know, how many, you know, be like this limitation of you can only be this one path, right? And then he chose to become a seer on top of that, and now he has like a power that we don't even know about and a power that we do know about. It'd be cool if there was something like that, but maybe that's a little bit too cliche.
To do so would result in warped powers and most certainly lead to a semi-deranged state of cruelty and insanity. Now, this much is pretty easy to avoid, but when it comes to losing control, the most common trigger is speed. What I mean is that should one consume a higher grade potion without first absorbing and digesting the full effects of the previous, madness would accumulate and that person would lose control eventually.
Yeah, it's a nice way to, you know, kind of balance the powers, because it's just like, oh, what's preventing a person just chugging all these potions and just getting the sequence one? It just cheapens the experience.
There's no telling how long it takes for a potion to be fully digested, but as is standard with the Nighthawks, one potion can only be taken every 3 years.
That 3 years? Hell no! See, that sequence. I mean, then again, the highest sequence we've seen is sequence 7, but I guess I'm rushing too much into things, but I don't got that much fucking time.
It was a strict waiting period that even then still resulted in numerous losses every year.
Okay.
Finally, the deeper one progresses, the more enhanced their perception becomes, and this in turn exposes the Beyonder to illusions, spiritual enticements, and all sorts of hidden dangers. Unless that Beyonder has incredible willpower, they'll always be at risk of getting overwhelmed by madness.
Did original Climb already succumb to that madness because he was basically reaching too high of a sequence that he shouldn't even be at and therefore shot himself? I don't know.
One small spark of desire or greediness will ultimately lead to their demise. So, as the founder of the Nighthawks once said, Beyonders are guardians, but also a bunch of miserable wretches constantly fighting against dangers and madness.
There it is.
It's an amazing quote that sums up their existence nicely.
That's right. We're here to protect others from these, you know, supernatural things, but at the same time, we're constantly struggling within ourselves too because of this power system.
And with that, I think that's a pretty good place to stop. So, if you liked what you saw and want to see more, then be sure to leave a like and subscribe.
Absolutely. Thank you, Andy News, for the summary of all the things that we missed out on. This is not even like a specific episode cut content, but more, you know, just like general, you know, Lord of the Mysteries stuff that's happened throughout, I guess, the first couple episodes. But that's pretty cool, man. I think the most important takeaway for me in this one is the existence of people who are born with Beyonder-esque powers without even being a Beyonder. Again, I'm trying to figure out what is the Grey Fog powers that Climb already has, because clearly that is not the Seer pathway. The other stuff, I guess, is also, you know, the different epochs and what they, you know, are. The whole, like, existence of different gods, how they just, you know, spawned into creation is still so mysterious to me. The Blasphemy Slate absolutely is also very, very important. Why would, you know, this evil god create this system that allows people to become Beyonders? Well, maybe because the evil god, you know, we're thinking of this as, hey, thank you, evil god, for doing this, for making it easier. Sounds like a good god to me, but the whole Beyonder thing, right? Maybe the evil god wants to procure more people that are basically going to become super powerful, and in turn, then what? Is that his plan, to gather a bunch of crazy, super powerful people? I don't know. A lot of shit to unpack. This stuff definitely makes it way more complex compared to what the Donghua has just kind of glossed over the first 3 episodes, but that's why the cut content is so important, man, to understand this show at a deeper depth. Thank you for any news again for the video. Here's a link to the video. Bang, bang, bang. Go give it a like, and I'll see you guys next time.